last lesson, you learned about the importance of not being the person who first brings up salary. In case you don't understand how important that is, let me share another story with you. I once asked an engineer I was interviewing, Raymond, how much money he was looking to make. He gave me a figure that was almost half of what I would have been willing to pay. So maintaining my best poker face and making it look like I was mulling over his number, I said, I think we can do that. I could barely keep a smile off my face when he accepted the offer. By the way, Raymond turned out to be a great hire, and he got a big raise at his first review, but it took him 2 years to get to the level I would have been willing to start him at. Moral of the story, you face 2 issues in negotiating. The first is information asymmetry. You do not know how much the organization is willing to offer you. You should have a good idea of your market value, but you don't know how high the organization is willing to go. Of course, they don't know your numbers either. That's why they try so hard to get you to reveal your current salary or name your desired salary. The second issue is your own reticence to negotiate. As this slide shows, only a minority of job seekers always negotiate, and fully 20% of job seekers never negotiate. They simply accept the first offer. Stop and think for a moment. If you're just starting out, you may not have much room to negotiate, but if you've been working for any time at all, do you negotiate? This slide depicts the reasons that people give for not negotiating. The number 1 reason is that they think they'll lose the job offer. But I can promise you, hiring managers expect you to negotiate. You won't lose a job offer because of it, provided you're professional about it. Now, did you notice that 26% of the respondents admitted they didn't know the industry standard for their position? To ensure that you're not part of that 26%, make use of the salary research sites attached as resources to this lesson. As this slide shows, another reason job seekers do not negotiate is because they don't know how. The vast majority, 86%, indicate that they like to learn to do so more effectively. And so you will in this lesson. The first principle of salary negotiation is whoever gives their number first has the most to lose. You should never be the one who states a number first. As somebody has to put a number on the table to get the game started, it becomes a kind of verbal chicken. Let's say the negotiator tosses the ball to you with a question like this. Remember Raymond. Your best response is to toss the ball back with something like this. A seasoned negotiator might return the ball to you saying something like this. In which case, your best response is to toss the ball right back with something like this. Ultimately, you'll get an offer, but in most cases, it will not be the maximum salary number. Interviewers won't offer a max number because they usually leave room to negotiate in case you counter. However, as anywhere from 20 to 40% of job seekers never counteroffer, this strategy also saves the organization money. Now, there's always the case, say you're entry level and just starting out, where they give you a figure and that's their number. They won't move off that number. Or the organization is a nonprofit, or a school, or a government agency, and there's a fixed compensation scale that can't be changed. However, you'll never find that out if you don't counter. So once you get the initial offer, you should answer something like this. Now, let's look at a basic counteroffer strategy. You'll learn more sophisticated approaches in the capstone, but this basic approach is a good place to start. You'll work from 3 basic parameters: your minimum acceptable number, your assessment of how badly they need you, and your assessment of how badly you need the job. You start with your minimal acceptable salary number. This will be a function of your current salary, What your research shows is the market value for the job in that area with someone of your experience and qualifications, and when your next merit increase is due at your current job, along with any bonuses you're due at your current job. Your feelings about the target organization and about your current organization will also play into your thinking. Any perks that you might be giving up or additional perks available at the target organization will also factor into your thinking. In the capstone, we'll go into more detail about calculating this number, but for now, let's just say you've thought it through well beforehand in the cool, rational light of no pressure. Next, determine how badly they need you. That might take some detective work. During your interviews, you may have gotten a sense of how badly they need you or someone else to fill this particular role. Here are some things you can consider. Did they call you or did you call them? Have they mentioned anything about someone recently leaving this job? Have they been trying to fill the job for a while? Are they filling one position in this job, or are they filling several positions in this job? 10 means they're desperate to fill the position as soon as possible and you're the perfect candidate. 0 means they don't need you at all. Maybe they're interviewing you as a favor to someone who works at the company and the job wasn't even open. If you find that this number is close to 10, you'll want to tactfully emphasize that during your negotiation. Next, determine how badly you need the job. This should not be difficult. A great deal will depend on whether you have more than one job in your sights. If this is the only organization you're interviewing with, then you've put yourself at a disadvantage. 10 means you're unemployed, your savings are gone, and you need a job immediately or you won't make the rent this month. Or maybe you just really, really want this particular job. 0 means you could take it or leave it. Maybe you're interviewing as a favor to someone. If your number is close to 0, you'll want to tactfully emphasize that during your negotiation. These parameters let you position your counteroffer. A good range for a counter is between 10 and 20% above the initial offer. On the low end, 10% is enough to make a counter worthwhile, but not enough to ruffle anyone's feathers. On the high end, 20% is a sizable jump over their offer, but it's not so big that it will come across as unreasonable. Now you use a concept that Josh Dooley, author of Fearless Salary Negotiation, came up with. He calls it your aggression factor. Subtract how much you need the job on a scale of 0 to 10 from how much they need you, also on a scale of 0 to 10. If the result is less than 0, use 0. So your aggression factor will be between 0 and 10. Now use that as a percentage. Counter at 10% plus your aggression factor. So from 10 to 20% over the initial offer. If that number is greater than your minimum acceptable salary, then that's your counter. If that number is less than or equal to your minimum acceptable salary, then just tell the recruiter or hiring manager that you can't accept less than your minimum acceptable salary. The organization will either accept your counter or a counter very close, in which case you're done with the salary negotiation. Or they'll counter somewhere nearer their initial offer, in which case you can counter back by asking to discuss perks, perhaps vacation time, other expenses, or anything else you value. Everything is negotiable. That doesn't mean you'll get it, but it is negotiable. The more an organization wants you, and only you, the more leverage you'll have. Of course, interest from other organizations also gives you leverage. The range of perks you can negotiate beyond the base salary depends on the organization. A fairly comprehensive list is attached as a resource to this lesson. Some of the common perks are shown here. It's often easier for a hiring manager to provide perks like these than to give you a higher salary. Managers have to be conscious of keeping salaries equitable among employees, but may have more flexibility in other budget categories. Remember where we started in this module. An interview is a two-way street. You may be the one seeking a job, and the hiring manager may eventually be your boss, but you need to think of yourself as an equal in the negotiation. You are a valuable asset. They expect you to negotiate, so don't disappoint them.